Hi guys, it's Mrs. Simpson with SMS PLS, and I'm going to take you through another craft today. So today we're going to be making these vintage button stretch bracelets. I actually got this idea because there's this very cute store right up the street from my house, and they were selling these bracelets, and I was like, oh, it's a bunch of old buttons. That'll be like $5. They were selling these things for like $35. And I was like, you know what? That's like actually a really cute little boutique item that we could certainly make in PLS. So if you're looking for a gift for somebody in your family, like a grandma or an aunt or something, this can be a really low cost way to do it. And it's really cute. I would actually probably wear a few of these layered up on my wrist, like for going out for girls' night or something. All right, so let's get started. We'll talk about a couple different ways that you can approach this project. So the first way is to do the bracelet just like I did. And so this is like no accommodations in place. What you can do is you'll need a thin piece of bracelet elastic. And I like to cut it longer than I think I'm going to need it, because when you go to tie the knot, it's really easy to tump all of the beads, or I'm sorry, the buttons off onto the floor, which I did not very long ago. And I'm going to show you a trick for trying to make that not happen. If you're going to use this method, you'll need some tape, scissors, and about 75 small vintage buttons. Now let's talk about another way. So if you have some issues with motor skills and stringing beads on something this small, with this small of a hole, is going to be problematic for you, let's talk about something you could do instead. You're still going to keep a piece of beading elastic for a bracelet like this, but you're not going to use it right now. You can get somebody to help you with this step later. Instead, you can take a pipe cleaner and either the small beads or larger ones, if that's easier for you to navigate, and you can string them onto the pipe cleaner. Then someone else who can assist you with getting it onto the elasticized band can come along later and move the buttons from the pipe cleaner onto the elastic band and tie it shut to make your bracelet. So if you're somebody who has some issues with motor skills, this is a way where you can approach the same project. So let me just show you what it might look like. Now you can string these really small ones using a pipe cleaner. You may have to push a little bit though. They kind of see how hard it is to get that on there. I can make it go, but I do have to pull a little bit. It's not just going to slide on. So I have to use a little bit of hand strength. So if I'm not somebody who has a lot of hand strength, small buttons on a pipe cleaner may not be the best for me. But if I'm somebody who has okay hand strength, it's the coordination piece that gives me trouble, this can be a way to make sure those buttons don't go sliding off while I'm making my design. All right, let's talk about people who maybe struggle a little bit more with motor skills. They need a bigger button and a bigger hole. And I've seen bracelets made with the big buttons. They're really cute, especially if you layer them up with ones with small ones later. It looks great together. So these are going to slide on much more easily. Now, the caveat I will say is, if you're somebody who has issues with motor skills, these are easy enough to slide all the way off. If you're prepping this for somebody who has issues with motor skills, you may want to take the end of the pipe cleaner and kind of make, a knot at the end, because then when you go to slide that large bead on, it's going to stop at the end and not come sliding off. But you can check this out. I can go ahead and string all my beads, and I'd say it'll take maybe 30 beads this size to make a bracelet that I could wear. I have kind of chubby wrists. Somebody else may be able to get by with fewer. But I'm just going to string a few of these to give you an idea what a larger bracelet would look like if you're using the big beads. I think you'll like the way it looks. I did. I wasn't sure what I was going to think of it, but I actually liked the chunky ones a lot. Okay, so you can get the idea. This would become like a big chunky bracelet. So once I had strung all of my buttons onto this pipe cleaner, I could have somebody else come help me move the buttons onto this elastic string and then tie it to make the bracelet. But I'm going to go back now and talk about exactly what I did. If I'm doing one that I don't need those accommodations, and I want to make one just like the one that I made. All right, so controlling the elastic and not having the buttons slide off the back, that's probably going to be your biggest challenge. So remember I said you were going to need some tape? This is why. So make sure you cut your elastic quite a bit longer than you think you're going to need it. And I'll show you why in a minute here. Now look at my wrist, and I have kind of chubby wrists. See all that extra? That's so I have room to tie the knot at the end. So don't make it too skimpy. You can always go back later and trim off the excess. So take a piece of tape, and you're going to want a flat, smooth surface. And what I want to do is I want to take and make sure I leave a pretty good tail on this. And I'm going to tape it down to my surface with this tape. And see how I made sure I left a tail? I have to think, is this enough for me to make a knot at the end? Like if I had to maneuver this into making a knot, would I have enough? And I feel like, you know, I could actually use a little more. So I'm going to make this a little longer. I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, could I tie a knot with this? Yeah, I feel good. Okay, so I'm going to smush that down. And then it's going to take me, if you have a chubby wrist like mine, probably about 75 small buttons. If you have a smaller wrist, you might be able to get away with 65 to 70 buttons. So, all right, all I'm going to do next is show you how to do that. So I'm going to take this between my thumb and first finger and see how there's just a little bit sticking out. That keeps it firm where it's easier to slide the button on. I'm going to take the button in my other hand. I'm going to light it up with one of the holes and I'm going to slide it through. All right, one down, 75 to go. Let's do a couple more together before I speed this up. Hold that so it's just about a centimeter out from your two fingers because that makes it easier to control. Push through one of the buttonholes. There's two. Let's do two more. Get my button in one hand. Other hand, line it up with one of the holes, push that through, one more, button in one hand, elastic in the other, push my button through. All right. Okay, guys, I'm going to speed this up and go ahead and finish stringing the rest of my buttons, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to tie it off. Okay guys, I think I've got enough buttons on here and I think it's about the right length for my wrist. And I'm wondering how many of you actually ended up spilling your buttons and having to start all over again, because that happened to me a bunch of times early on. I think the tape with the big tail helps with that a little bit. So I'm just going to check and I'm going to see if I feel like it's the right length for my wrist. I'm just going to lay my wrist down. I'm going to keep a good firm grip. Yeah, it's about right. I could probably put a few more on, but I think I'm going to give this one as a gift. All right, I want to make sure that I keep a nice firm grip, otherwise these can go flying off. But what I'm going to do next is start to tie my knot. And this is when I spilled them all over the floor, so that's why I advised you to tape it down. So remember you left this tail back here. You're just going to go ahead and take and start to tie your knot. So it's still tied, down, and I'm just going to go nice and tight and make like a triple knot. I'm going to tie it one time. Nice and firm. Now I don't want to pull so hard I break the elastic, but I want to be firm. 2 times. One more time, 3 times. And I'm just kind of stretching it, and I kept it tied down the whole time. Now before I finish, I want to snip off the extra elastic. My scissors. You can see there's a little bit there. It'll get hidden in the buttons. I can take up my tape. And now I think I've got a pretty cute bracelet. And if I start to make a bunch, you can layer them up and you can see how great they all look layered together. So hopefully it was a fun project. You got to have some great conversations while you were crafting. Don't forget to tag at SMSouthPLS on our social media outlets, Instagram and Twitter, and show us your finished project. We want to see how everybody's came out. Okay, see you next time, guys. Bye.